chairperson of the Pakistan People's Party, Bilabial Bhutto Zardari.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I'm incredibly grateful to the organizers of this event for having given me the opportunity to speak on Asma Jahangir and some thoughts that I may have. It is indeed a privilege and an honor for me to be here in remembrance of Asma Jahangir. She was a friend to my mother, a mentor to me, and an inspiration for all democracy-loving people of Pakistan. Asma Jahangir is synonymous with democracy, with rule of law, and human rights. Her voice could be heard when many others felt silent. She continued to feel the pain that others grew accustomed to until the end, never stopped pushing back, fighting the good fight. From bonded labor to women in abusive marriages, from victims of religious persecution to the sanctity of the will of the people. No fight was too big, no case too small for Asma Jahangir. Her absence is felt more acutely now than ever before, as a selected government desperately seeks to undo democratic gains made by Pakistan. The media is under assault and is facing unprecedented censorship. Human rights are endangered today, and rule of law and due process have been discarded in favor of rhetorical populism. Theatrics have triumphed over substance. But it occurs to me that though Asma is no longer amongst us, her ideas and her voice cannot be allowed to die. They must resonate through you. They must resonate through us. Asma Jahangir was a warrior for a democratic, progressive, inclusive, modern and pluralistic Pakistan. If she was present here, she would never have let this despotism go unchallenged, and neither shall we. Today, our democracy faces serious threats, not only from unelected forces, but also from so-called Democrats. I believe it was the Honorable Chief Justice who said, and I quote, that we know as a matter of historical fact that democracy has always been a highly endangered species in Pakistan. It has often fallen to the ground under assaults launched by anti-democratic forces waving the banner of basic democracy or true democracy. These assaults have in the past been made by military dictators, but it should never be forgotten that the forces of authoritarianism need not always be in uniform. Democracy, more than anything else, is a cast of mind, a respect for the opinions and decisions of ordinary citizens. Unquote. The supremacy of Parliament and the sanctity of the Constitution are under relentless attack. We still await clarity on the blatant manipulations of the 2018 elections and for the uneven playing field which resulted in the imposition of, in my view, an incompetent government. A government which is attempting to address grave challenges to the economy by Chandanomics, ignoring entirely that their lack of policy and consistent U-turns have not only failed to inspire confidence, but have in fact put this nation on a speedy track to further economic instability. It was the Pakistan People's Party which strengthened the Federation of Pakistan, and it is the Pakistan People's Party which will defend and strive for a more vibrant and stronger federation. We, the people who believe in the ideals of a federal, democratic Pakistan, must come together and resist any nefarious designs to undermine this. Let us not forget how the 18th Amendment sought to protect the Constitution and rule of law on the one hand, and strengthen the Federation on the other. It has done away with the powers of the President to dissolve at whim the Parliament, the symbol of the collective will of the people. It has conferred upon the provinces due rights over their resources, for which they were agitating for the past 6 decades. It has restored the balance in the distribution of fiscal resources between the federal government and the provinces by a more equitable NFC award. Instead of making population as the sole criteria, backwardness of a province and other factors have also been given weightage. I should therefore like to warn against any attempt to roll back the 18th Amendment or the NFC award. The Pakistan People's Party will stoutly and resolutely resist any such move. Let there be no doubt or mistake about it. Ladies and gentlemen, civility and democratic norms in politics have been replaced by hysteria and abuse. The government has neither the will nor the capacity to deliver on the false promises made during its campaign. The rule of law is the soul of a democratic system. The judiciary has the responsibility to inspire confidence that justice will be done, that everyone will be treated fairly, and that fundamental rights will be upheld. Sadly, in the past, our judiciary has failed to inspire this confidence. Millions of people wait for their cases to be heard, while the justice system seems or appears to be focused on trivialities rather than dispensing justice. I am a victim and a witness to the inequalities of our justice system. As a child, I remember accompanying my mother to visit my father in jail. My father was imprisoned for 11.5 years, despite being innocent, without a conviction, and he was ultimately buried in every single case. My grandfather's judicial murder remains a blot on the history of our judiciary, and I still await justice for the assassination of Shaheed Mohtarma Benazir Bhutto. The Pakistan People's Party has faced trials, tribulations, and victimization throughout its history. However, we have remained steadfast, and unlike others, we have never ransacked the courts. The Pakistan People's Party has sacrificed lives and has borne the pain of confronting tyranny to build a just society. And I, being my mother's son, will continue to do so, inshallah. Although the justice system has failed me, it has failed millions of Pakistanis. I will continue to struggle for an equitable, constitutional, and fair justice system, where the court's decisions is based on the law and not on politics, where trials are free and fair and not reduced to witch hunts. We must have a system that focuses on prosecution, not persecution. I am heartened by the words of one of Pakistan's most eminent jurists, who in a note he penned warned against, and I quote, "a vehicle for judicial aggrandizement of power at the expense of the elected representatives of the people. On the conceptual plane, it is devoid of merit and amounts to little more than a vessel into which judges can pour whatever economic, political, or social theory as may their fancy or whim at any given time. Constitutions in free societies are made by the people, for themselves, and through their chosen representatives. It is for the chosen representatives and no one else to act in such matters. Why should that power not be exercisable by such representatives in their collective wisdom? And why should its exercise be at the mercy of unelected judges? The decisions of elected representatives have been wrong and have occasionally brought us close to disaster. Is the record of our judiciary that much better? The elected representatives at least need to have their mandate renewed periodically. What of judges, who in any polity are the least accountable branch, and in Pakistan in particular, are in quite a literal sense a closed brotherhood? The Constitution does not end and certainly did not begin with the judges, and the courts would do well to remember that every institution and each organ of state has its own role to play. That realization and acceptance ensures that the constitutional balance is maintained. The court should not do anything that unbalances the Constitution. It should never assume in its own favor that it is the ultimate arbiter of all things, unquote. These insightful words by our Honorable Chief Justice Saqib Nisar in his additional note on the petition on the 18th and 21st Constitutional Amendment gives me hope that sanity will prevail. Ladies and gentlemen, the legal fraternity has always been the first line of defense against undemocratic forces, be it against the autocratic rule of General Zia al-Haq or the dictatorship of General Pervez Musharraf. It is the bar that holds the judiciary accountable, and it is the first to point out deviations from the path of constitutionalism and rule of law. And Asma Jahangir led the bar with incredible courage and unimpeachable integrity. Also, has the need for a transparent judiciary been felt as strongly as it's felt today? Whether it's the appointment of judges, or the division of powers between institutions, or the vast but unrestrained powers under Article 184.3 of the Constitution, there are issues that need to be looked into and questions that need to be asked. A transparent and accountable judiciary is not a political slogan, nor is it a manifestation of politicians seeking to expand their own powers. It is for upholding the majesty of law and the dignity of courts. History has taught mankind that the greater the power, the greater the need for restraint and greater the need for accountability. Ladies and gentlemen, the leaders of the bar must now pick up Asma's mantle and resist again today. The erosion of rule of law, the undermining of democracy, and the ever-shrinking bounds of human rights, as she did in the past. Today, we are only democratic in name. The mindset, the tactics, bear all the hallmarks of autocracy. The legal community has a special responsibility to resist any attempts to undermine the spirit of the Constitution. The objective of the present government seems to be to establish a fascist one-party dictatorship where criticism is treated as a crime and where democratic opposition is threatened with intimidation. However, dear friends, no amount of victimization and coercion will weaken our resolve and our commitment to democracy. When democracy and constitutionalism were under threat, Asma's voice was always the loudest. And now there's deafening silence. Asma Jahangir was guided by the belief in fundamental rights to life, liberty, due process, and equal opportunities. As the son and political heir of Shaheed Mohtarma Benazir Bhutto, I too hold these principles as my shining light, and I hope to live up to them. The best tribute to Asma Jahangir is to follow in her footsteps and fight for constitutional supremacy, equality, democracy. This is a debt. This is a debt that we owe to Shaheed Mohtamma Benazir Bhutto, and this is a debt that we owe to Asma Jahangir. And inshallah, we will succeed, lest we be left at the mercy of dangerous duffers. Rest in peace, Asma.